Click the button. Go to the next slide. There we go. Did it. 15 entries this time, which, as I said, compared with last year where we had 11 total, 15 of the digital ones is a step in the right direction. So well done, everybody, for getting out there and having a go. So maybe next year we'll do trilogies again because it seemed to work. Let's have a look then. Starting with, hang on, Jane wasn't the first one, was she? Let me just go back, make sure I've got that right. Yep. Jane Barnes was the first one that I've put here, and drips and splashes. I really love the kind of vertical form of this image, and each of them, while they're presented as horizontal, has a strong vertical within them. That the whole essence is about the drop falling. And so the way Jane's arranged them like this in the vertical form as they sort of move down the frame has worked really well. I like that she has used the blue and picked that out of the images and used that in the background. That gave another form of continuity. And then the splash, there's a sort of a more splashy one at the top, a developed one, and I've got absolutely no idea how she does that. Gets a splash within a splash. And then the bottom one, I'm wondering if that's a bubble, but the form kind of grows as you move down the set, and that I really enjoyed. So that's number one. That was Jane's. Next one was Nerily Keating, and this is called Day's End at Lake Ellesmere. You might notice as we go through the sets here that I've arranged them in kind of similar form stage. They're, you know, again, this one's a vertical, just like Jane's one was. This again is about a consistent colour, and it develops in terms of time over the bottom to the top. It seems to me that it's a little earlier in the evening at the top. The colours have changed. There's some blues in the water. This is just not long after the sun's gone down. Then we go down further, and it becomes a sort of a yellow colour. And then as we go further to the bottom, it's a more deep red as the evening has progressed. They're all kind of similar in form, and the only suggestion I had was next one's Heidi Anderson, who talked to us about the end of an era, and that really sounds interesting. So let's have a look at the picture. And I think it's unlikely that Heidi made a quick trip to the UK, but if she did, well done her. But it's a really great opportunity to grab, you know, she's clearly used other people's images to make this. But it's a really great form. She's made something different with other images that are kind of available. It's a novel interpretation using other people's images, but it's valid. The thing that she's made stands on itself. It's got a really solid form. That vertical form makes me think of a cross. So we've got a strong vertical in the frame, and then we've got the horizontal of the images. So I'm not sure what her intention was, but that jumped out at me straight away as there's a form of a cross here with all the associated symbology. Of different parts of the process, the pomp and ceremony in the middle, the family part of it on the right, and then the sort of military boom and whatever, just the stuff relating to the empire stuff. So that works really well. And then the fact that 2/3, 3/4 of the whole frame is negative space works for me, and that it just leaves it to our imagination. So, I think this is really well thought up and well done, without making your own images. Heidi, not here, is she? Savour of chocolate. John Thornton, Richmond Quality Meats. Said meats there, but this is foods. It's because it's more creative than meats. It's fast food basically, isn't it? And here, John's gone the complete opposite extreme that Heidi did. So Heidi had a huge amount of negative space in 3 little pictures. John's got 3 pictures that dominate the whole thing, and they all tell a story about fast food of various sorts. We've got fish and chips at the top, souvlaki, and whatever it is, the road food post on the other. They're all about sort of fast food, convenience, and all that sort of stuff in different variations. It felt a bit top heavy here. I wondered whether you'd actually tried with the dark one at the bottom. That's just something that jumped at me, but you never know. When you do it that way, it may feel really static. So by the solid bit at the top, it's got this sort of ponderousness, which probably adds some energy to it. You might be worth trying it the other way around and see what you think. But I thought it's really good. Each one of those pictures tells a part of the story, but collectively they tell something more, which was the aim of the exercise. Yep, chocolate for that man, please. Stay over there, John. Jan's not far away. Jan Bogue had end of the dandelion clock. The first thing that jumped out at me here was, well, there's 2 things really. The consistent form that changes over time, but the use of some words. Text really jumps in it and grabs your eye. It's one of those things about any photograph, and this is an image, so it's a collective thing. It's got a photograph hovering overall. If there's any text in it, it will grab your attention, and we, just by the nature of being who we are, can't not read it. So we read it, and we instantly have an understanding about what the story is here. It's about the dandelion, and it's about time and the clock, and then you go, I understand that before I've even started looking at the pictures. And then you go to look at the pictures, and you find a pristine dandelion to a half blown away one to not much left of the head at the end. And they're all presented in exactly the same size with exactly the same strength, and there's a clear movement through the frame from left to right, which I think works really well. The colours are consistent all the way through, and the little black borders also add to it. So well done, Jan. And chocolate, please. Ann Yuan brought us Fanfare Spin, and some of us, if you were at the evening a couple of weeks ago with James and somebody else, wasn't it, and Diane, I think, talked about some Photoshop stuff. Ann brought this one, and so we might have seen it before. There it is. It works really well. It's, for me, a novel interpretation of this kind of unique subject. We all drive along that motorway and think, what a weird sculpture that is. And it feels like it needs to move, and Anne's made it move. She's made it sort of jump and spin and do a whole bunch of things, much more than it does in reality. It just sits there and looks a bit weird most of the time. I really enjoyed the strong, we've got kind of a strong vertical form on the left-hand side, and it's reflected in the other two, and you get this cyclical motion that happens between the 3 images. And James has talked about this, and I think you did swap the 2 images on the right up around the other way, didn't you, Anne? So you can see the grass and underneath the image on the left-hand side sort of creates a continuous circle with the grass on the bottom of the right, and that actually worked really well. I thought this was a super series and a great set of images that are well and truly deserving of a chocolate. Hiding down the back. Nelson, Herald of Spring. I really enjoyed the fact that, and this is something this is the first time we've seen it in this set, is that all aspects, each of the pictures are different. They're all a different size and a slightly different form. There's a similarity about them, but they're all different sizes. And that actually reflects the fact that the flowers are all different. So we've got different flowers within different shaped images within a really cool background, and the background is complementary and fits the whole thing. I've got no idea what it is, but it's actually, the colour of it works really well. The texture is really enjoyable, makes the images stand out. The little black shadow line around that also adds to it, and the fact that everything's just white in the flowers. It's just simply about the flowers. He's made the yellows consistent throughout the whole thing. I'm not sure whether each of these plants has exactly the same coloured yellow, but by the time they've had Nelson's treatment, they definitely did, and they sit together really well and tell a collective story, and yellow, it has that feeling of spring about it. So well done, that's what I got out of it, and give that man a chocolate is the answer to that. Chris Vandenberg shows us a jet ski rider. Chris has obviously been out to the beach where these crazy kamikaze guys jump off these waves. I've been out there a couple of times. It's really good fun, and they are completely insane. But this is what they do. They go completely upside down, they flip around, and they come crashing down, and some of them go out, dive into the water in the vertical like that and pop out the other side. Some of them crash and burn and come up in pieces, basically, don't they? But he's caught the same guy in the same motion. I'm not sure whether this is whether the images sit together sort of frame after frame. The bottom two look like they do. The top one might have been a couple of frames earlier as he started the flip at the top of the wave. So we've got it right up, flipped over the top, on his way down, about to make the landing, and then he's diving into the water. The oblique form or diagonal form from top corner to the bottom kind of flows across the frame like that, and yeah, I thought that it worked really well, and it was a good addition to to just a couple of images. One of those images is full of action. 3 of them triples the amount of action. So well done, Chris. He's over here. Diana Andrews. Diana's gone crazy in this, as you'll see later. It's gone really good. But this one is a concentration, and I've got no idea where this pile of drums is or what the history behind this pile of drums is, but they actually are quite cool. And I thoroughly enjoyed the fact that each of these images tells a different part of the story of the drums. We've got probably the one that tells you the most collective and overall pictures is the top right, and that just shows the big pile of drums sitting in the corner underneath there, and maybe that's what caught her eye as you drove past the paddock or something. I'm not sure what it was, but then she's gone in and made something else of it. Going in close on the left-hand side gets us to have a look. We get to get a sense of the shape and the form of the drums and the pile of drums, and then we've got this multiple thing down the bottom which just abstracts the whole thing and spins it around into something which is not what you literally see there. So we've got a literal overview, a literal close-up, and something abstract on the bottom, and they sit together really well to form something that is a greater part of the story. So again, well and truly deserving of a chocolate. JK, Raging Ocean. Again, some text. The first thing you see is the text. I know I said Raging Ocean, but I bet you read Raging Ocean before you even looked at any of the pictures there. So we need to be aware of the power of those words. So this works really well in that it does set the scene, and then we go and look around the pictures. The pictures are, again, a little bit different. We've got the one on the left, the bigger one, which is telling us the whole story. It's giving us some context. We're seeing the sky, we're seeing the whole ocean, we're seeing the interaction between the waves and the rocks, and we're getting that sense of motion as the sea is coming in towards us. The 2 smaller ones are in this case I view them as sort of additional images. They add to the story. The main story is told by the image on the left, but those two just give us little touches of the power of the waves, and they're both in different form. One is an interaction of the wave on the beach. I think the top one looks like a wave crashing on the beach, where the bottom one is just the power in the ocean, the wave moving and going over something under the water, I think. But again, they're about power, and they all add collectively to a story about raging ocean. So chocolate for JK. Adrian, gentleman, talk to us about windows into the education of the past. And that, when you look at the title, oh, that's intriguing. What's all that about? Let's have a look and see. This is cool. This is old Christchurch coming out, isn't it, here? I enjoyed that the whole thing's really quite dark. There's a slightly sort of challenging darkness in this image. And the black and white ties it together much more strongly than it would have in monochrome. It allows the sort of punchy contrast to come out. And then we have three images that are essentially the same size. They all have a strong vertical form, but they all have something else as well. Like the top left one has got a triangular form in there in that shape of the window. So there's a triangle there, there's a arch or a half circle at the bottom, and then the strong vertical with the little diamond in it on the right. So they're all the same, but they're all different. And in terms of size, they're all the same, but they're all different. And I think that's what adds together to make this one work. The same but different, and all parts of the story of the sort of old parts of Christchurch. Adrian here. Robin Carter, From the Mountains to the Sea. This is one that tends more towards the sort of, me thinking that it's a triptych. In that the images are complementary and similar, and they kind of do add up to a collective picture, but they don't, and they each stand alone. And if you looked at each of those pictures by themselves, they are standalone pictures, and they each tell you a different thing about this viewpoint in this place. It feels like the Marlborough Sounds to me. I'm not sure whether it is or not, but that's what it feels like. And we're looking at the regression at the top. We're looking at the mistiness of the hills on the bottom, and now there's an interaction with the water which didn't exist on the top. So we've got a sort of a horizon line, and then further in down the bottom we have just a study of the water itself. So that the colour is a consistency that flows throughout. The form, in that they're each in that sort of wide aspect, letterbox form, for the lack of a better word, is the same, and the story that they're telling is the same, but they are different points of view of the same thing. Once again, well done, Robin. I hope you're listening. Irene Ferguson, Acheron House. This is an excellent place. I don't know if you've been up to, those of you who've been to Hamner, if you haven't been across the hill and gone to Acheron House, make sure you do. It's an excellent spot to visit, and there it is. I thoroughly enjoyed the way this is put together. I liked the black background. That adds to it. It makes the images kind of pop out from a darkness, and you go into those sort of old buildings like that, there is an element of darkness that is kind of there. And I looked at this image and said we've got like two peaks and a study. So the two on the left are peaks, are the little bits of it. They tell an individual story. The first one is telling us a little story about that cushion, which, what the heck's a cushion doing there is a question that I end up asking. And we've got the old crate, probably a beer crate. So it could have been there from shepherding days or any number of things. And so there's a little, that's all about that. The next one across for me is primarily about that little spark of light shining through the window. And then what that light is illuminating is the interesting thing. We're seeing through to the back wall. We're seeing hints of what's happening in the roof above it, but it's quite tight. There's not a strong element to look at. And then we get to the big one, which pretty much is standing in the same place, turned around and looking back the other way. I think she's standing just at the other side of the fireplace is the way I perceive it. And then we've got a whole bunch more. There's a lot more in this part. We've got an understanding of what the place is about, and we get into the nitty gritty. I can wander around. We see the shaft of light coming from that window and the little bit of yellow in the window that provides an explanation for the colouring and the light across the other side. We can see the old cooker there that's seen better days, and the roof's seen better days. Pretty much the whole place has seen better days, but it leaves us to think about what has been, and really enjoyed this study. Is Irene here? No. That. John Hawkins, probably have to steal your own chocolate for this one, John. Celebrating Cook's Landing and Cookstown. Again, this is another one with a strong horizontal and then a progression of time across the frame. We get a sense that these Aboriginal guys are arriving to check out what's happening, and Cook's dudes are sitting in the shade underneath the tree, and they're moving across the frame. We see them from a distance, we see them some close up, and there's a sort of a questioning look of them, and they're coming together in a group and they're moving forward. And the last one is where they're sitting in together, discussing things, although there's a slightly ominous feel of those soldiers in the background with their muskets. So there is a progression of time as we come across there of a representation of possibly what's happened. We do have a couple of elements, predominantly the modern-looking pleasure boats in the background, which were unlikely to have been there on the day. That gives us a sense of what this actually is. So, I thought this was... And once again, each of those images, if they stood by themselves, would tell this story to an extent, but I don't think they would tell them as effectively as the three of them have. So feel free to grab yourself a chocolate. Alan Moore sent us up, down, and flying around. The problem with me looking at formation flying pictures is I've got this, ex-formation flying pilot pickiness. So I look at every single one of those formation pictures and I want to go, number 3's in the wrong position and this is out and stuff. But Alan's nailed it. They're all pretty good. Now, I'd be happy to be in any one of those formations. So that's a slightly unfair situation that has been created here with me looking at them. But I think they work really well. And as he's pretty much said, up, down, and then coming straight across the scene. I enjoyed the fact that there's a spark of light that is coming from the left-hand side of the frame. I did find it interesting, and there's something you might want to think about, Alan, is that drop shadow that you've got on those pictures is lit from the opposite direction that from the images. I'm not sure whether that would be better that way or because there's no sort of implication that it's coming from the same light form, but something to think about. And as I said before, I really enjoy the fact that they are doing those kind of three things. It is entirely possible that the middle formation is flying straight and level right across the top of them and it's pictures straight up. I don't actually know whether that's not the way it is or not, but anyway, that works. We've got the up, we've got the down, and for me the most interesting one, because it's got the most movement and tension and excitement, is the one on the right, where we've got propellers sort of frozen. We can see into the, you can't see the pilots, but you can see the cockpits on the aeroplanes, and we can kind of see the tension that's involved in that sort of low-level flying. So I enjoyed that one. So give that man a chocolate, please. So that's the conclusion of the trilogies. So as I said, a good number there. Can't remember what I said. I think it said 15. So that's a good solid number of things. And I'll be interested in a bit of feedback from later on for those of you who've entered this time who haven't done it before. The previous ones had been sets of 6 and 4 and stuff that didn't feel to me to be all that much harder, but we got much more buy-in on the trilogies. So something about trilogies worked. So let me know afterwards what it was that you thought was that made it worthwhile doing this time, where you hadn't managed to get round to it on previous occasions. We then went on to Anything Goes, and there are 12 entries in this section. There's a couple of double entry people, but there's still 12 things, and they range all over the show. There's a bunch of interesting stuff here, and like I said, I really didn't push that this much. You know, in previous times I've made a bit more of a song and dance about, you know, creating art from your pictures on your hard drive, but this one I just said, just anything else, whatever you come up with. And there's heaps of really cool things that came up with. So people are doing this sort of stuff. So well done for that. And let's start having a bit of a look at them. Alistair Phillips with Midnight Oil Resist concert. And this is pretty different and special. Hang on, here we go. Going. Have to move it across there, that's what I have to do.
People wasting away in paradise, going backwards once in a while, taking your time. Give it a try. What do you believe? What do you believe? What do you believe is true? Nothing they say makes a difference this way. Nothing they say will do. Sunburn, faces around, the skin so brown, smiling, zinc cream and crowds on the beach, never a cloud, and eucalyptus pushing down the land, sleeping amongst junk food, laughing at the food, cause tough was tough till they hit the rough. Hey, Uncle Sam and John were quite enough.
Here we go. So this is what Alistair had to say about his Midnight Oil statement. This is Alistair speaking. Ever since I was a pimply teenager in the mid-80s, I've been a fan of the Aussie rock group Midnight Oil. Their music drawing attention to the issues of the day, be it the arms race, climate change, or at home Aboriginal and Indigenous rights. The group, whose music spanned 4 decades with a pause for the lead singer's time in the Australian political arena, in 1917, they reformed and continued to make the music. Their final album, called Resist, is a strong musical statement on what we are in the world facing today, and that is global warming. I attended the Christchurch Resist concert at the beginning of September and got there 4 hours early to be 10th in the queue to get a good spot, right up against the front and centre barrier, and it was awesome. Call me old-fashioned, but I'm ashamed to say I used my cell phone to take the images. There's nothing old-fashioned and nothing to be ashamed of there. There's lots of noise in the photos, but it's not deafening, but I actually think it adds to the overall look and feel. I've used the images to take a display on my wall of that memorable night. So that's what he's done. He's made that picture, and here is where they exist in real life. And Alistair's brought one along for us tonight to have a look at. And here it is. Come and have a look later. It's really great little picture, and just his words summed it up better than I could. That it's a summary and a something for him to go and relive that concert. And like I say, it's sitting on his wall. Here it is. Come and have a look at it. It's interesting to talk about that noise in the image, but I actually think it adds to it. It just adds a kind of a sense of feeling to that sort of musical environment. It would have been dark, it would have been loud and noisy is probably the best way to sort of describe it. So Alistair's pictures made with his cell phone have given him a really good summary of the night, and I think that's awesome display, awesome picture. Come and have a look, and well and truly chocolate worthy, I would have said. Diana Andrews, images on a meal tray. Now, this is what I said, that Diana's gone crazy with this trilogy thing. This is another image. You'll notice that the form, if you remember back to her ones with the drums, big picture on the bottom, 2 at the top, that same thing follows through onto this, to the second one I went. When I saw this picture to start off with, I went, oh, okay, that's interesting. It's the same form, and it said something about meal trays. And at that point, she hadn't emailed me the picture of the meal trays, and then she sent me this, which explained the whole thing. So she's gone the whole thing, taken it up a notch, and as you can see, I'm not sure I can point across to you. There we go. My pointer's working. There's the one of the drums. There's the one of the aeroplanes on that side. They've been made into meal trays, and then we've got these 2 that are snow. One's all fog-lined trees and one's snow, and they again have this 2-in-1 kind of form, and they have turned into these gorgeous looking things here, which got a little thing on your bottom for sticking on your knee. It's got a tray on it. I'm not sure what is on top of this, whether you've stuck it on. Maybe we could get some details of the practicality of how it worked afterwards, but I think it went really well. And it's like, she's not only made a trilogy, she made 4 trilogies, and then she made something with the trilogy. So it's like a multiple level step up, and I was really impressed with them. I think they're really good. And like I say, I hadn't seen them in person until tonight, but come and have a look. They're really good. Well done, Diana. Give the lady another chocolate, please. Karen McConchie, a window to the Mediterranean. This is pretty special too. Again, this is something I saw a picture of before tonight, and here it is. Come and have a look at this. This is really special. This is something super cool. Obviously, there's been a trip. You've made a trip around wherever it is, somewhere. What did you say it was? The Mediterranean, I think was the term, wasn't it? Have a look and go back and see. Window to the Mediterranean. So Karen went to the Mediterranean, and there's lots of places within the Mediterranean, so there's lots of places you could have gone. And we often make a blurb book or make something, but she's obviously been to lots of churches and seen lots of stained glass windows, and then she's turned her little individual images into a stained glass window. Come and have a look at this when you get a chance. It's really cool. If we can get a light on that, can we get that light on it? Yeah, we'll be able to turn the light on a bit later, but come and have a little look. There's little individual pictures that have been cut out just like somebody would make with stained glass windows. So we've got this kind of window-shaped form under that. It's standing proud, so it's kind of floating, and it's sitting behind the glass. And then there's just little individual images within that. She's made up something really special that is well and truly something we can all go, oh, I might have a go with that. So log this in your memory banks, and next time when you get a gallivant around somewhere and you see windows or doors or whatever it may be that is the essence of your story and your trip, this is a pretty cool way to put this on the wall and tell the story to, to anybody who comes to your house. Really is taking pictures out of the hard drive and turning them to a piece of art. This is an awesome piece of art, well and truly chocolate worthy, I would have said. Yep, behind Joe. Well done, Karen, that's great. I'll just pop it here. Have a look later. This one's going to be fun. John's made this Jacob's ladder. I'm going to have a go at demonstrating it. Does anybody remember making Jacob's ladders when they were a kid? Any idea what a Jacob's ladder is? Right, here we go. The series of pictures. There they go. They're all, I'll talk about them what they are in a minute. And then you do this. And it all flips over. Now it's the other side. And then you take it and you turn it the other way. And it flips down and goes back. So we've got images on both sides. And with this little mechanical piece of magic, the Jacob's ladder kind of works. Like I said to John before, I remember making these as a kid. Mine used to get about halfway down and then the thing would stick out horizontally because it didn't have the strings, done right. So I played with this for about half an hour when I got it out of the thing the other day. So I better stop, otherwise I'll wear it out. But what we have here is we've got, well, let me get the picture of it. There's a series of pictures of kids rugby, and I'm guessing there's some significance whether, I don't know who the kids are, but there's a kids rugby team that John's got something to do with, and he's made it into more than just a series of pictures that sit in a little envelope that are in your drawer somewhere. He's made it into something that the kids are going to play with because it's just fun. But what we have, and from a photographic point of view, is a relatively simple little 6x4 print that cost 50 cents from Harvey Norman or wherever it comes. And then with the rest of this clever construction of plywood and nice ribbon and stuff, we've turned it into a physical, really cool thing. So come and have a little look at it, see if you can figure out how the design works. I'm sure Googling Jacob's ladder will give you a step-by-step instruction and go and make yourself one. They're really cool. Well done, John. Take yourself chocolate for that one, please. Oh, this is quite cool. Jane Barnes brings us Lens Gallery. And to start off with, when the entries came through, so I've got off the website where the entries were made, the name of the person who put it in and a picture of the thing. So I hadn't looked at any of the physical things at that point. I just popped this up. And up pops this picture. And I went, oh, that's cool. Jane's taken a picture of a gallery somewhere and it looks like it's in Norway or someone's been to Norway. And I'm going, I'm not sure that I kind of get this. Maybe I've missed a couple of other pictures in this series. So I just put it in the presentation and I went, I'll come back to that and find out where the other three images. And then later on, I went and had a look through the stuff that I'd got, and I picked up this box and went, wonder what this is. Whoops. He's up the wrong way. There it is. Oh, it comes out, does it? You better show me how to do that. I was too scared to do that. There we go. It's even better. Look at that. I thought it looked really cool in the box because for me, it was like a surprise opening because I was lost. I didn't quite know how it fitted and things. And then I opened it up and it's really cool. It's more of a craft than a photographic thing. But as a thing, it's fantastic and it incorporates little photographs and come and have a look at it. It's fun. And I really enjoyed that little surprise when I opened this box. So thank you for the surprise. And give that lady a chocolate, please. Nicola Jackson's Prints on a T-shirt. This one there's a similar story. This came in another box, which I'll show you in a second, that it had this beautiful bow made out of ribbon tied on the top of it. And I looked at it for a while going, if I undo this, there's absolutely no way that I'll ever get it back together again. I know I've tried this in the past, and my wife and daughter both just say there's something that I'm physically incapable of tying a bow. So I went, okay, it's got to come apart, and I ain't putting it back together again. So you don't get to see Nicola's fantastic bow, but it's here. You can see evidence that it existed. But anyway, inside the box, beautifully presented, were these 3 T-shirts. I haven't unfolded them because, once again, I'd never fold them back up again, but I'm going to now so that you can. Here they are. Nice quality T-shirts and just cool little photographs on them. So they've stepped up from being a T-shirt, and I don't know, where they came from or what they've done or what the significance, but the stories really has been popped by the addition of, a photograph taken on that. This is a question, you can answer it now. Did you do the photographs with this iron-on kind of stuff? Yeah, because Nelson's going to have something a bit later on, and he was talking about and brought this thing here. So inkjet iron-on technology. Yeah. So I've never done it. I've seen them, but I've never done it. But somebody's taken it, and Nelson's done it as well. But there we go. And the colours on that work really well. The line is kind of sympathetic with that soft brown. And then we get the pop of the orange and stuff in the sunset, which again punches out against the white T-shirt. So that works really well. Once again, no attempt at all at folding these up properly because I'm incapable. And the last one, there's one on the front as well. Was there one on the front of the other one? No. It's a tui on that side, and these amazing forks on the other side. So again, it's an explosion of colour, and we've got colour of the tui. So come and have a look at those. I think you'll find that, maybe we should all go to the warehouse stationery and grab one of those little boxes of prints and have a crack at it ourselves. So, well done, Nicola. Give the lady a chocolate, please, John. JK. Now, we've all seen JK's spider pictures, and when they project it up on here, they look huge and foreboding and somewhat threatening. But spiders aren't quite like that. So JK has gone and made us this thing, which up there looks pretty big as well, but in reality is this lovely little delicate wee frame thing. Now, I'm not sure whether JK spent a couple of weeks working in his workshop out the back manufacturing this little thing or not, but it doesn't matter if he didn't, because it's a really cool representation of it. There's, what have we got? 3, 6, 8 individual spider pictures, and they're small enough that, like spiders, when you take a look at them, they don't jump out at you. They're small enough that you have to go, oh, okay, and get in close and examine of it. This sort of thing can sit on anywhere you like on the side table, and somebody's going to walk past and go, oh, there's a spider, and get down, and it's a picture presentation that invites you to get closer to it. So, and spiders normally make you run away, but this presentation of it invites you to get closer and have a really good close-up look. So I thoroughly enjoyed that one, and please give the man a chocolate. Alan Moore's The Eel Is Mine. Now this is something a bit different. Here, Alan's presented it in a similar way to his up, down, flying around picture, and it's sitting on a background that's consistent. We've got the drop shadow and the 3 different pictures that add up to a story about the eel. And if you look closely, the shags are fighting over an eel that one of them's got, and there's a bit of an element of a story to it. But instead, that lives like there on his wall. And here we go in relatively simple little frames that I've no idea where Alan got them, but they have that sort of Bunnings or something like that look about them that you can go and get a frame relatively cheaply. We've printed up, he came around to my place and we printed some pictures to a set size. So that's the way to do it. You get the frame, it has to be such and such a size, and you make the print to pick the frame, don't say this picture needs to be such and such, and now I need to get a, an individually made frame that'll cost you $400 before you start. Get the frame, make the picture to fit, and these pictures kind of sit together. There isn't a picture of Alan's lounge like Alistair did, but that's the sort of thing that's happened. He's made them to be on display in his house, and I think that worked really well. And once again, is well and truly deserving of a chocolate. Nelson's going whole hog for multiple chocolates with multiple entries in this one. The first one's a book, which is here. And not only that, he's made my job easy and presented me a whole bunch of words, which I'll read out, that gives you some context of the book. The book, which is called the 2015 European Painting Tour with Min Kim, prepared as a documentary record of a 4-week painting tour with 8 people through parts of Europe. The trip was organised by Min Kim, an accomplished Christchurch artist. I'm a photographer, not a painting, and I took the opportunity to record the activities and the places. The trip included Albarican in Valencia in Spain, Venice, Florence and Rome in Italy, and Istanbul in Cappadocia in Turkey. Note in the blurb book there are a variety of layouts can be constructed, and this cost was about $70 for 180 pictures on 60 odd pages. So here it is, a blurb book. For those of you who haven't tried a blurb book before, any other construction, there are a number of options around. The Bloom's a really good one, and that you can do all the layouts and you can do all the work from Lightroom. It's just a really simple way of doing it. And there's a variety of, come and have a look through the book. You'll see some a way that Nelson's arranged different arrangements of pictures. There's text that goes in there. It tells a story. And I think it's a really great thing to do to come back from a trip, to have a book like this sitting on your, your bookshelf. Then that's the way to tell the story about where you've been and what you've done. So I enjoyed looking through. I haven't had a good chance to have a look at it, but I've enjoyed the prospect of looking through this, and I do understand and encourage people to have a go at blurb books. So come and have a look at Nelson's one. Hold the chocolates, because there is something more. Tapestry. There's Nelson. A pillow. Here it is. Nelson's pillow. And he says, more craft than art and not my own work, but is provided to show alternative uses of photographs. So what's happened here is, I'll read the rest of it actually, and then I'll talk about it. Images were printed on fabric using any inkjet printer. The fabric has a backing paper which is removed, and the fabric has been stitched into a quilt, prepared by my sister Lois Shannon, who has prepared other work as well for the hangings. So Nelson's sister's a quilter, so she's made this really cool thing for Nelson's birthday. He's 70. That was only like a couple of weeks ago, I guess, was it? There's pictures of Nelson throughout this whole period of being Nelson. So, and again, it's images made onto the fabric and made into something. So it's a construction of something artistic and creative from the photographic genre. And, although Nelson didn't make this, the fact that he's bought it for us to come and have a look at, I think, is probably worthy of a chocolate this time. So you can have a double chocolate since he put double entries. Anne Yuan's Trilogy Cup. So Anne's another one who's taken this trilogy idea and run with it in different directions. And she's made this cup. Here's a picture of it. And here it is. Anne will tell you where she got it done, but these things can be, there are a number of places that she can make this. And she's actually made this really, this is quite one of the trilogy pictures that she showed me when we were talking about which one to enter, is a trilogy of these white heron, obviously taken down at Okarito. But it's turned it into a cup, a practical, use it every day thing. And, if you use it for 5 years, it'll be chipped and you can make another one of something else. So well done, Anne. That's sort of taken things up to another notch, and it's taken the picture off you, probably on your phone, where you can show people on your phone. Now you can give people a cup of coffee in it and say, there you go, look at my pictures, well done. So that's well and truly worthy of a chocolate. Hat trick. There's a bit of a song and dance to be held here, so let's do the whole song and dance, because I'm going to get them out and make it happen. This really cool and really special, and again tied up with a lovely knot that I can't duplicate, thing turned up from Jo like a month ago. Before she went away, she went, "Ooh, what's that?" And I went, "Am I allowed to look at that before the entries close?" So I had a peek, and then I put it away again until not so long ago. So it looked really interesting from the start, and arranged it a hat. When I opened it up, you open the top, and then when you come and have a look, you'll see when you look down, and there are a set of lights in there, and I'm going to get them out. I'm going to undo it. You might be able to see. You can look down at the top, and there's 3 sort of mystery tubes, and it's like, what is this? And at this point, when I first looked at it, I hadn't seen these pictures, so I didn't know quite what it was. And then, pull them out. Going to unwrap them, Jo, sorry. So you'll have to wrap them up again at the end. But they are simply, I'm not sure how they're made, but they're a print on probably some sort of really receptive paper. And we have them around that way, blue in the middle. But when you go further, you do this. Is that cool or what? I think that's come up really, really well. And it's just going to sit on it's a nice simple thing that whether it sits as the trilogy of 3 of them, or it could be a singleton, or it could be one side of the another book. Let me have a quick look at the book. Who made it? Where did it come from? Okay. I've seen a couple of other. You did one as well, didn't you, Diana? On the ones that I've got acceptances for or things. So this, excellent. Come and have a look. These are a really good thing to turn. Pictures that you've had successes and you've got little, certificates for, or you may have dropped the certificate or whatever, but they then turned into something which is a bit more permanent and a bit more displayable. When somebody says to you, "What do you photograph?" you can just grab the book out of on the shelf and say, "Here, have a look." So there's another book to have a look at. Again, well done, everybody. I thought that was fairly fantastic, and I enjoyed being involved in it this year. So thank you.
Wasn't me. Okay, thank you very much, Ian. I really enjoyed that. And thank you all who entered. Just amazing. I'm blown away with the creativity that our group shows. So thank you once again for entering and allowing us to see your creativity and the amazing things that you create, whether it be digital or I was going to say hard copy, but it's kind of not quite the right bit. Thank you. So I've actually said most of my notices tonight, unless anyone has got any other things they'd like me to mention. No. Excellent. So once we close here, if you're most welcome to come up and have a look at these wonderful things, and also go for supper on? Yes, supper. So I get confused because the RCC's been talking about when they're taking the kitchen out to do things left, right and centre, and I never quite figure out where I am. So I'd like to thank Jane and Nicola this evening for the tutorial that they ran through at the 7 o'clock session. I thank Dennis for opening and closing. Big thanks to Wayne and Gordon up the back. A big thanks to Ian and Alistair on projection. Thank you for John, who's doing supper. Nope.
Somebody volunteers to run it before everybody else does and start doing the set up ready to go.
Thanks, John. Okay. And thank you, Ian, for your presentation. Have a lovely evening and see you again next week.